Good morning. I am Robert J. Columbo Jr., the Chief Judge of the 3rd Judicial Circuit Court located in metropolitan Detroit area, Michigan. We are the largest court in the state, and our juvenile division handles the biggest caseload in the state. I have had the honor over the last few years to accompany attorney Fred Gruber on programs that he does to encourage people to become foster parents and adoptive parents. And I'm so thankful that I've had this opportunity, because it really has let me tell people about the need that we have for good people to work in the foster care area and consider adoption. I've learned from my own experiences in watching what happens in my juvenile court how important foster parents are. And I read a book recently after being at a program that honored one of our juvenile judges. A young man by the name of Jimmy Wayne, a country and western singer, was there to speak about foster care. And he had been a child who had a very difficult upbringing. His mother was a drug addict. His father abandoned the family. He lived for a short time with his grandfather, who didn't care for him. At one point during his life, when he was about 13 years old, his mother's boyfriend had shot someone, and they fled around the country, when ultimately he was dropped off at a bus station in Pensacola, Florida, with $80, just about enough money to take the bus back to North Carolina, where he had been raised. I learned from that book that one person, just one person, can make a difference in a young person's life. Jimmy Wayne, one day, living out on the street, was riding a bike that he had stolen but intended to return, and saw an elderly man working in a carpentry shop. A voice told him, "Go ask that man for a job." So he went and talked to the man, asked him for a job, and the man said, "You have to talk to the boss, my wife." She was also working in the carpentry shop. He went and asked her, he said, "Ma'am, do you have any work for me to do?" And she said, "Well, Jimmy, come back at 5 o'clock and you can cut the grass." So he came back at 5 o'clock. He cut the grass, and while he was cutting the grass, the woman, her name was B, came out and offered him a Coke and a donut, and asked him if he would like to cut the grass the rest of the summer. And he did, because he needed the money and he needed a job. So every week he would come over and cut the grass. At the end of the summer, B said to him, "Jimmy, where do you live?" And Jimmy had his pat answer, "Down the street a bit." He had been in and out of foster care, and he knew not to give too much information. And B said, "Jimmy, would you like to live with us?" And he said, "Yeah." So he went and retrieved his clothes, which were all wrapped up in plastic bags, because he knew that was the way to keep them dry. They gave him a beautiful bedroom. There was a piano in that room. They required him to cut his hair and go to school. He was so thankful he never missed a day of school, of high school, the rest of that year, and until he graduated. He then went to junior college, became a guard in a prison, and developed a country music career. And B would come to the programs. And one night, she had come, and she would always sit in the front row to read her Bible. And after the program, Jimmy would always take her home, and he took her home that night, and they drove into her driveway, and Jimmy heard the voice again. And it said, "Tell B you love her." So he told B he loved her, and he said she loved him also. The next morning, one of B's children called to say that B had passed away. Jimmy had a very successful career, and it was because of one person, B, who turned his life around. And when he became a successful musician, he made a promise to raise money for foster kids. He does that by going around and speaking, but he also did a walk from Memphis, Tennessee to Phoenix, Arizona. And That's why his book is called Walk to Beautiful. So if you want to read a beautiful story about someone who turned a young person's life around, I recommend this book. And that's what Fred Grouper and his group are trying to do. Find people who are willing to make a commitment, who are not afraid of that commitment, to help a child and turn a child's life around. So I'm so thankful for Fred and what he does, because we can't find foster parents for everyone, but every time we find one, it's a success. And we're so thankful for him and what his group does. Thank you.